It is time to breathe again on the Breath of Fresh Air webcast on YouTube and Facebook via StreamYard. So I am your host, Charles, and I'm by myself again this week because Patrick is gone on a family vacation. So hopefully he's back next week with us, and he should be. I think he told me he would, but of course, I'll be in touch with him to make sure he is. But we have a lot to get to. Oh, also, by the way, Patrick deserves his time off. I just want to go ahead and get that out there too. He deserves the time off to spend with his family. So I hope he's having fun and he'll be good and refreshed when he does come back. Uh, but we have a lot of topics to get into. And first, before we get to all the NFL free agency stuff, I know March Madness is coming up and it starts on Friday. Your first four games are actually Thursday. So I'll be watching those Thursday. It's just great to have March Madness back because, of course, that got taken away from us because of COVID last year. So we didn't get to see any of the madness. So it's good to have that come back this year. And I will get on that later on in the show. But the NFL free agency period has begun. Well, okay. Officially, it doesn't begin till tomorrow on Wednesday, but this is the quote unquote legal tampering period. So all these deals are coming up and they're going to be signed in, and a lot of it has already came out, and I guess it's just waiting to till Wednesday to be official. But what we will start with is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because Tampa Bay, they're the Super Bowl champs. They will be the defending Super Bowl champs. So the champs are the ones that get the first crack here, or the first mention. And they're basically just staying packed. They're staying intact. They have brought everybody back. To start with Tom Brady, who signed an extension for I guess another 4-year extension, but it gives Tampa Bay $19 million of cap space going forward, which means they're going to have the flexibility to bring on other players he may want on the team to keep them competitive. Classic Tom Brady move, of course. Take less money. The team gets who you want, or who he wants, and what the team ultimately wants, and then they go out there on the field and make it work. A lot of people do not like Tom Brady for this reason, because a lot of look, people are going to go and they're going to get their money. We have talked about this throughout shows recently, and we know people are going to go and get paid when they can. Tom Brady's that dude that says, "Hey, look, I'll take a certain amount of money, but here's a little bit more here in the pot, and then you do what you can with that money to get the people here to build the team, and then we can win." The reason why people don't like Tom Brady is because, well, he is on the team that keeps winning. It would not be any type of an issue if he was not winning, if he didn't have 7 Super Bowl victories under his belt. If he was trying to take less money and still not able to win any Super Bowls, nobody would care. But because he has 7 and most of the other people have 1, if they have any at all, of course, you have a couple of quarterbacks who have 2. Well, Ben Roethlisberger comes to mind. He has 2 Super Bowl wins. But the rest of the guys, most of them have 1 if they haven't been able to get, if they've even been able to get 1. And that's why they're upset, because he comes out, he does this, the team around him is good, and they continue to win. This is him just being that team guy, being that team player. And with that being said, they were able to re-sign the defensive end, Shaquille Barrett, to help solidify that defensive line with Jason Pierre-Paul on the other side, rushing the passer. They franchise tag Chris Godwin, and they're bringing Rob Gronkowski back for another year. Now, remember, Rob Gronkowski was retired a couple of years ago, and it didn't look like he was coming back at all because he sounded like a man who was done playing football. But I guess being able to get on down to Tampa and be with his boy Tom Brady, that like that re-energized him, and now he looks almost as good as he did all those years in New England. He looks healthy, and he looks strong, and he's going to be a factor still come next season. But that's what Tampa Bay has done. Tampa Bay really didn't sign anybody, excuse me, in terms of adding people, but they just kept the band intact, just kept everybody together to get ready to make another Super Bowl run. And they have every reason to believe they can get back there. Now, of course, it depends on what the other teams do with their moves, for other draft picks, what happens in the NFL draft, how these teams continue to improve. But there's no reason to believe Tampa Bay won't be amongst the favorites to win this bad boy again. Now, it is hard to repeat. We know it's hard to repeat. Ask the Kansas City Chiefs because, I mean, Tampa Bay knocked them off in the Super Bowl and stopped them from repeating. But, I mean, it's just difficult in this day and age to go back to back. It hasn't happened since New England did it. Speaking of New England, we'll get on them in a minute. But it hasn't happened since New England won back-to-back Super Bowls in the 2003 and 2004 seasons. So we'll see if Tampa Bay can become the first team since then to do that. Well, right now, they're looking good, and don't be surprised if they make another move here, just because Tom Brady's contract structure gives them the chance to do that. So we will see what happens with Tampa Bay, but they're back together and they're going to be strong and tough to beat come next season as well. Now, speaking of Tom Brady, his former team, the New England Patriots, now they've been making a lot of noise because then this legal tampering, quote unquote, period happened. And all of a sudden, New England said, we are going to spend all this money we have. We have all this cap space available. It is time for us to get the goods. Now, they went and, well, first off, they re-signed Cam Newton to a 1-year deal. And a lot of people were wondering, oh my gosh, I can't believe they re-signed Cam. Why did they re-sign Cam? Well, they re-signed Cam because from everything I have heard, they loved Cam. Bill Belichick, the head coach, loved Cam Newton. They loved his leadership. He got along great with the players. And to be honest, he was playing pretty well in the first part of the regular season last year until he got COVID. And he got COVID. He missed 2, 3 games before he could come back. And then he had to try to learn this system. In New England, as we know, they like to adjust on the fly. They like to have different game plans for different teams depending on who they're playing. And it's a lot for a quarterback who has just came in to the system. And Cam Newton got in there late. He got signed around late June, early July last season to try to get into learning the system. And of course, we didn't have a normal training camp period because of COVID. So things kind of caught up to Cam after he came back from COVID. And then he didn't look like he was throwing the ball well. And honestly, he struggled to throw the ball down the field. That's how it looked. He looked pretty good in the last game against the New York Jets, but I mean, it's the Jets. But even still, he threw the ball pretty well in that game. So they bring him back because they feel like this year it can be a step up. And because all the players who were around Cam love him, I like the move to give him another shot. And you have some better talent around him now because that was another thing we had heard. Well, Cam doesn't look good. And then people would say, well, he doesn't have any talent around him. Well, New England has addressed that because they went and got 2 tight ends. They got Jonnu Smith from the Tennessee Titans, and then they got Hunter Henry from the Los Angeles Chargers. So we all remember when New England had 2 tight ends before. That was something that was tough for teams to deal with. Of course, Rob Gronkowski was one, uh, and Aaron Hernandez was the other. And look, we know what happened with Aaron Hernandez, so we're not trying to get into that. But on the field, he was good in that system. Well, now with Smith and Henry, every reason to believe they can create that or recreate that. And then they got 2 receivers. Was it 2 receivers? I'm trying to think because yeah, it was 2 receivers because they got Nelson Aguilar from the Las Vegas Raiders, signed him on a 2-year deal. And then they picked up Kendrick Bourne, the receiver who was with the San Francisco 49ers for a little bit. He got signed to a deal. They made some upgrades to the offensive line. And then on defense, they signed Matthew Judon, the guy who was with the Baltimore Ravens. So they went and they spent this money and they made some tremendous upgrades. Now, a couple of things here. The people who said New England didn't have talent around Cam Newton or just didn't have any talent at all are the same people now who want to go and say, oh, all the spending of the money they're doing, oh, this is a desperate move. They're just making a whole bunch of desperation moves. Really? Now, so let me get this straight. You have a team who has the cap space and is actually spending money to get players, and it's a desperate move. And especially when you talk about New England, a team that traditionally isn't known for spending that type of money, but here they are going to address the needs they have, the needs that they have for their team. And now it looks like desperation. Y'all gotta be kidding me with that. That makes absolutely no sense at all. It's ridiculous and sickening how all these people can go and just switch up their opinions when the latest stuff happens. It's disgusting. There's no consistency, no credibility, really. And that's why people have problems when people come out here and say stuff, because it just seems like they're just trying to say the hottest thing to get clicks, and then turns into a bunch of clickbait. But New England goes, they make these moves, and it is looked at as, oh man, I don't know if they should look at. They want to start comparing it to other teams in the past who have went and signed a bunch of players during the free agent period. Two of the teams I had heard was the Washington Redskins team. I know they're the football team now, but and more on them in a minute. I know they're a football team, but of course back then they were the Redskins. It was back in 2000 when they went and just got all these big name guys like Deion Sanders and I forget the other people they had tried to get. I know Deion Sanders was one of them, but they tried to create pretty much a fantasy team on the field. It didn't work. The Philadelphia Eagles in 2011, same thing. They went and got all these big names and tried to capitalize on all of the cap space they had to get these big names. That didn't work either. So a lot of people are trying to compare what New England is doing to those two teams. It's not even close to being the same thing, for one. Like, that's a terrible comparison. For one, can anybody name a superstar out of the crew New England is I've gotten? Look, they got some good players. Hunter Henry is a good tight end. Matthew Judon is a good defensive end. But I don't think anybody would call them superstars. And Nelson Aguilar. So about that, this is the same guy who was with the Las Vegas Raiders. And before he was with the Las Vegas Raiders, he was with the Philadelphia Eagles. And there was a dude who mentioned Aguilar dropping passes for the Eagles while he was just happening to be catching babies outside of burning buildings. That doesn't sound like a superstar, does it? I'm just sitting here just pointing out what happened. But the, the none of these guys are superstars. This is simply New England addressing needs. Bill Belichick knows better than anybody what is needed on the team to be successful. And I don't care who is on the team. You don't win 6 Super Bowls without without knowing who needs to be on the squad. So he's going out here, he's getting talent. On paper, looks pretty good. You got 2 solid tight ends, you got 2 pretty good receivers. You hope N'Keal Harry, the guy they drafted a couple of years ago, you hope he continues to develop, and you're going to get Julian Edelman back, a chain mover who can keep first bounce going. Somebody who can definitely help Cam Newton with those short completions. So New England right now. Oh, and by the way, they're getting people back on defense, like the linebacker Dante Hightower and Patrick Chung, the safety. They're getting those guys back because those dudes opted out from the season because of COVID. They're supposed to be coming back. New England is going to be looking pretty tough for people. Not ready to say they can take the AFC East because the Buffalo Bills are still looking pretty strong, but it's going to be a lot tougher. A lot tougher, I think, on paper anyway. It's going to be a lot tougher for Buffalo to win this division this year. Now, New England is letting it be known. They know what they needed. Let's go get it. And for these people to criticize them for spending money after they've been criticized for not spending money, again, completely ridiculous. It's lazy. It's disgusting. And the people who continuously change their opinion all the time, depending on what's going on, they can go kick rocks. Next topic is the Kansas City Chiefs. And this one goes to Patrick Mahomes because remember, we were talking about Tom Brady and how he was taking less money to make sure the team can get talent around him to compete for Super Bowl titles. Well, Patrick Mahomes, as we know, has signed the biggest deal in the NFL. It averaged out, I don't know the restructuring about that, but it was averaging out to $50 million per year. He went and he restructured that deal, and it frees up, I think it was 18 or $19 million in cap space for Kansas City to go get some people. Now, we know they released pretty much their whole offensive line. In particular, the two tackles they had, Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz. They released both of those guys, and so now uh, there's other deals that have been signed to keep guys like Tucker, like the receiver Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelsey. So Mahomes said, "Hey, look, man, we'll go ahead and we'll restructure this deal a little bit and make sure we get some people to help us out." So they were able to sign offensive tackle. I think his name is Thuney, Joe Thuney. And if I'm wrong on that, please correct me. But there you go. So you release some money, you gave some cap relief, and Kansas City's getting some people to protect him because he's gonna need protection. And this is Patrick Mahomes realizing, hey, I cannot win this Super Bowl or Super Bowls. I can't do that alone. As great and as much as everybody wants to say he's the best thing since sliced bread, here's the man himself saying, I cannot do this alone. I need some help. I'm not trying to run for my life like I was doing in the Super Bowl against Tampa Bay, having to throw passes parallel to the ground because he's falling. This is a man who realizes we need the help. We have to get some people, and that's good on him for realizing that. And this is the stuff sometimes that you're gonna have to sacrifice. Again, not trying to fault anybody for getting their money, but if you want to win, sometimes you might have to sacrifice and throw some things back to try to help the team out. I get the people saying, no, 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 that's what they paid. That's what they deserve to get that. But I'm just saying there are examples out there, Tom Brady, that says, hey, you can make your money and go ahead and get these championships, get these Super Bowl rings. So those pictures where Tom Brady's showing 5 Super Bowl rings and 6 Super Bowl rings. I'm sure there will be one where he shows 7. That's where Patrick Mahomes appears. That's where it appears Patrick Mahomes wants to be, and he knows he cannot get it done by himself. And those quarterbacks who want to make all the money, well, you better be able to elevate your team because if not, and a lot of times they can't, that's why they don't win. It's just that simple. When you get paid that much money, you are expected to mask those weaknesses on the rest of the team. And I think that Super Bowl was an eye opener for Patrick Mahomes. Hey, I cannot do this alone. I need some protection. And then we'll see what Kansas City does with their defense because their defense is horribly lacking too. And it has been for a while. If they don't improve that defense isn't, Kansas City's not going to be winning any Super Bowls, not with the defense that bad. Next, let's get to. I brought up the Washington Redskins, and of course, they are the WTFs now. Um, they went and they signed Ryan Fitzpatrick to a deal. I'm not understanding this at all. I felt like maybe there were some other quarterbacks maybe they could have traded for better than Ryan Fitzpatrick. This man just continues to go from team to team and basically collect paychecks. From what I'm hearing, he's expected to be the starter. Me personally, I would just start Taylor Heineke. If they want to have a competition about it, cool, fine. But these other two dudes, you already know what you're going to get from Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's going to be Fitz magic 1 minute, Fitz tragic the next. We already know that's what's coming. And then the other guy they have in the camp, Kyle Allen, he's not he's not that great. He's basically one of those journeyman quarterbacks. He can come in and he can be hot for 1 minute, but I don't think he's threatening anybody's job. So if I was Washington, I would start Taylor Heineke, but I guess from everything I'm hearing, Ryan Fitzpatrick is supposed to be the starter. I say good luck with that. Although, if Ryan Fitzpatrick can play decently, I still think the WTFs are the best team in the NFC East. I mean, everybody, of course, is going to hype up the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not picking them for anything. Screw that. Are you kidding me? They do nothing but disappoint anybody. But they'll be on the hype train as usual. The New York Giants should be improved, but we'll see. And look, the Giants actually beat the what the F's twice during the season. They were both very close games, but they do have those two victories on them. And then the Philadelphia Eagles, who knows what's going to happen with them? They're a hot mess too. But I just felt like Washington could have did something else besides sign Ryan Fitzpatrick. I mean, if that's the case, then you might as well have kept Alex Smith, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I guess Ryan Fitzpatrick can throw the ball a little bit deeper, maybe get some bigger plays down the field than what Alex Smith can do for you. And then Alex Smith, he had a big cap hit. So I mean, I don't know. It, it's tough, and I'll get to your comment in a minute, Bear. I see it. It's tough because Alex Smith, he has the comeback story of when he was injured. We all remember that catastrophic ankle injury. Uh, he had that catastrophic ankle injury back in 2018. And he worked his way back, had so many surgeries. I think it was 17 or 18 different surgeries he had just to get the ankle functional, because he almost lost the leg uh, from infections and complications from the other surgeries. And so it was just really tough to see, but he made it. He got his way back, but people were upset when he got cut. I get the business side of it. It was going to be a pretty big cap hit, and I guess Washington decided to um, to part ways with Alex Smith, so he's free to go elsewhere. But I don't see how good Ryan Fitzpatrick or how much of an upgrade that is. And so, to my boy Bear's comment, so he left a comment about Ryan Fitzpatrick doing good until he got pulled. You know what, Bear? You're right. He was doing good. I was one of the ones who was upset that he got pulled from the starting job for the Miami Dolphins for Tua Tagovailoa, and I felt like he should have stayed in. But with Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's been on 7 different teams, Bear. Or actually, he's been on 8 different teams. This is his 9th team that he's joining with Washington, and it's been hot or cold most of the time. So chances are, even though he was playing well before he got pulled, he was probably going to have a game where he threw 4 or 5 interceptions, and then the rumblings of putting Tua back in would have would have been loud and proud down in Miami. It's just a history that Ryan Fitzpatrick has. But you're right, yeah, he was doing good for Miami until he got pulled. Um, and like I said, I agree with you. I have nothing to say on that part of it, but history tells us he can go from Fitz magic to Fitz tragic really quickly. So we'll see how that works out with Washington. But even with that move, I say all that, I still think they're the best team in the NFC East. And then let's get to the Chicago Bears. They ran and signed Andy Dalton to a deal. The Chicago Bears, for their history, cannot get a good quarterback. There's a couple of years. I mean, when they had Jim McMahon back in the day, when they won their last championship in 1985, and then they had flashes of when Jay Cutler was good, and then they botched this whole thing. We know how they botched the draft choice with Mitchell Trubisky when they had the chance to get Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. Now they go and sign Andy Dalton to a 1-year deal. Why? I have no idea. You might as well just start Trubisky. I'll tell you what. The Bears are a hot mess, and the defense it's good, but it's not playing up to par. Maybe if they could get a good quarterback, they could do something. But man, with the brain trust they have, the general manager Ryan Pace and the head coach Matt Nagy, they're not doing anything. Those two dudes, honestly, probably should have been fired last year, and I think they would have been if they didn't back into the playoffs last season. But them making the playoffs basically saved their job because they were on a hot seat, and I guess it was a little bit closer for them to go than and then it was, or it was a little bit closer for them getting fired than originally thought. Making moves like this, yeah, there's a yeah, this is why the Bears ain't gonna do anything. Yep, I agree. I agree, Bear. Yeah, just go ahead and pick somebody out of the stands. I mean, getting Andy Dalton there, you sign him for a deal, and from everything I'm hearing, he's gonna be uh the starter potentially. I yeah, you might as well just start Trubisky. That's all I can say. You might as well make sure you can. And I guess Nick Foles is still in the mix somewhere too. I just don't know what they're gonna do. Hopefully, they can get some more offensive talent around them, and they're probably gonna have a head coach a change. I wouldn't be surprised if it happened during the season next year. I don't really see, unless the Bears make some sort of an improvement. I don't see the general manager or the head coach returning next year and making moves like this one. This is why they're not going to do anything. They're like this, just it's just comical. Comical is all I can say for that one. So those are the stories above some of the other things that I guess are going on during free agency. People are wondering what the New York Jets are going to do. I'm like, no, who cares what the New York Jets do? And then look, oh, and about that, I thought the Jets held all the cards. All these people were talking about how the Jets were kind of holding all these dominoes and everybody was waiting for them. Well, again, I mean, you got the Super Bowl champs and these other teams are not worried about the Jets. They care less about the Jets. So the Jets are the ones they signed. I think they signed a couple of people. Yeah, they signed Corey Davis from the Tennessee Titans. The Titans are getting kind of rated here. Like I just thought about that. They lost the receiver Corey Davis. They lost Jonnu Smith, the tight end, to the New England Patriots. Tennessee's getting kind of rated, man. They need to go ahead and put get some people there. Or Derrick Henry's going to be seeing a lot of 8-9 man boxes. I guess he sees a lot of those already, but it's definitely going to be like that if they're losing pass receiving weapons. But as the free agent period officially begins Wednesday, I'm sure it's supposed to get a little bit hotter, a little bit heavier, and we'll be watching to see what other moves are made. There's still some good receivers out there. Juju Smith-Schuster's still out there from the Steelers. Kenny Galladay from the Lions is out there. T.Y. Hilton from the Indianapolis Colts apparently is out there too. So there's still some good players left to get signed. It'll be interesting to see who gets them. Now, let's get to March Madness. Look, again, as I said at the beginning, it is good to have March Madness back, and I can't wait. Just like I'm sure the rest of y'all, a lot of y'all cannot wait to have the madness begin. So it'll begin in earnest on Friday. The first 4 games are Thursday to see who gets into the field of 64, I guess. And it's going to be fun. This is definitely one of those years. It seems like we say this every year when it comes to March Madness, but this is one of those years where anybody can win this. Now, going in, Gonzaga is the favorite. They are the number 1 overall seed. They went undefeated during the year. The knock on Gonzaga, and I've been one of those people to knock them, is they don't play a tough schedule. Now they can't control who they play in the West Coast Conference, but it's definitely not like playing in the Big Ten or in the Big 12 or even the SEC this year. The SEC got 6 teams into the tournament this year. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. Yeah, I see you, Bear. Let's go, Bama. You know what? And honestly, I'm gonna have to check the bracket again, but I think we, as in Texas, are in your region. And if everything goes right, we might meet y'all in the Sweet 16. So it'll be interesting. And then we'll talk mess, I'm sure, if that comes up. But the the conferences, the Power Five conferences, of course, those the competition in those conferences are a little bit tougher than what Gonzaga is probably used to in the West Coast Conference, and they haven't quite been able to break through. They were close, I think, in 2017 when they got to the final game before losing to North Carolina in the final minutes. So this could be the year Gonzaga does break through. It does appear they have the best team out there. But look, I'm not even gonna act like I know who's gonna win yet. I haven't done a bracket yet. I'm gonna do one tomorrow. Hopefully, I'll have it done by Thursday morning, and then I will have a shorty, or that's the plan. I plan to have a shorty on Friday morning, telling y'all who I think is gonna win. And then I would like to see who you guys have too. But I mean, you have Baylor, the number one seed in the South, Illinois and Michigan. They got the other two number one seeds out of the Big Ten. Now, we know the Big Ten is normally one of the toughest conferences, if not the toughest conference. But the Big Ten Conference has not won a championship in basketball since 2000. Okay, think about that. 2000, when Michigan State and the Flintstones of Mateen Cleaves, Charlie Bell, and Morris Peterson, those guys won the championship back in 2000. The Big Ten Conference has not won one since then. So I know how tough they are, but at the end of the day, only one team wins it. And none of those teams have been from the Big Ten. So until they break through and win one, which they have a very good chance this year, they have 9 teams in the tournament. The Big 12 has 7, and then I mentioned the SEC with 6. I think the ACC has 6 or 7 too. And then the Pac-12, I forget, but the Pac-12 they're not that great. But they have some teams that could make some noise potentially. Oregon could make some noise. Colorado, we'll see about them. And is Utah in it? I don't think Utah's in it this year, but I'd have to look. If they are, fact check me. So it'll be interesting, definitely, to see Big Ten. And I'm just glad to have the madness back because that was one of those things that was canceled from last year's COVID outbreak. So it's just one of those things to be thankful for that we can watch these games for them, as in the players and the coaches, to battle through this season through all the COVID interruptions. It says a lot about how they were able to come together and get everything situated to where they could have a tournament. And it'll still be interesting. I haven't heard anything yet, but as far as I know, the teams that are in there, they are handling their stuff with the COVID protocols. We'll see what happens with Virginia and Kansas because they were 2 of the teams that had to pull out of their respective conference tournaments because of COVID outbreaks. But so far, it looks like they're on track to get there and play in the tournament. So hopefully, we don't have any interruptions like that, and we can watch the games develop, and everybody gets the shot that they're lined up to get to win. And again, I have no idea who's going to win it. I'll just pick the bracket, and then I will tell you who wins or who I think will win. And finally, let's talk about LeBron James because LeBron James has jumped into another interesting business venture. So now he is a minority owner of the Boston Red Sox. So he joined the Fenway Sports Group, who does own the Boston Red Sox. Fenway, of course, that should sound familiar because Fenway Park is the Boston Red Sox home. And this is also interesting because LeBron James is supposed to be a noted New York Yankees fan. So I guess he won't be wearing any more Yankees hats. But this is just another smart business venture for LeBron James. Of course, we know he owns a minority share of Liverpool, which is the one of the biggest soccer franchises in Europe, and they are the defending champs of the English Premier League, which is one of the biggest soccer leagues in the world. And we all know in soccer, uh, or we all know soccer is by far the world's most popular sport. So to have a share in that, that's going to bring in a lot of money there. So now he's a part owner of the Boston Red Sox. And we know this could be just a setup for when he does retire from basketball, and then he has said he wants to own an NBA franchise. I know he had dabbled into trying to get a part ownership of one of the WNBA franchises, the Atlanta Dream, after their owner before, her name's Kelly Loeffler. She was the old Georgia senator who got defeated in the runoff, but she wasn't denouncing racism really, or maybe not so much racism, but when all those things had happened with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, those tragic things that happened to them, Kelly Loeffler didn't really come to those players' defense. She didn't really have their back. And then there was pretty much a uprising, and they got her out of there, which I'm not mad that they got her out of there. But LeBron had talked about doing that, and now here he is. He's doing the Bama thing, or the Bama thing. God, think about Bama. I had seen the comment that Bear made. He's doing the minority ownership of the Boston Red Sox, so it'll be interesting to see what follows after that. Because I mean, these are, along with Liverpool, these are two of the biggest franchises in sports. The Boston Red Sox is one of the crown jewels in baseball, and then, like I mentioned with Liverpool, they're the defending champions in the English Premiership. So, one question I do have though is what would Patrick think about this? Because I know he normally likes the Red Sox. I wonder would he just stop liking them because LeBron is a part owner of the team? He probably will. But whatever. Other than that, and Patrick, hey, if you are watching, I'll go ahead and let you respond to that comment I just made. Yeah, Bama's on the mind, I guess. Maybe it's the football thing, Bear. I don't know. But that, you know what, they actually, going back to March Madness, I do like Alabama's team. They look good in the SEC tournament. And they won that bad boy, very close game with LSU in the tournament final. Alabama looks good. I wouldn't be surprised to see Alabama do something, well, until they face us potentially. But again, I'll have that pick later on this week. Well, that's what I'm breathing on for tonight. That concludes the Breath of Fresh Air webcast on YouTube and Facebook. So, everybody, please go to the Breath of Fresh Air YouTube channel and smash that subscribe button, and keep the likes coming on the Breath of Fresh Air Facebook page. Thanks to Bear for coming in here, getting some comments in here, and for everybody else showing the support, showing the love, watching. Um, Continue to keep the eyes on us because, man, look, I finally got to a point where I could get into some of these new features that I'm trying to add to the show. And I know Patrick has some things he was talking about adding as well. So we'll incorporate those as the weeks go on. Just stay patient with us and continue to watch. And for you guys to be here and continue watching us through all this time, it's deeply, deeply appreciated. We thank you so very much. So until next time, everybody take care. Have a good rest of the week. And I will see you later in the week with my pick to who will win March Madness. Take care.